Hey everyone, it's Alicia here, and I would like to welcome you to a very special episode of In the Loop. Now, what makes this episode so special today is the fact that I'm hosting my second ever Q&A. I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who submitted questions because I had over a couple hundred for this Q&A session. So rather than making this the world's longest Q&A on YouTube, I'm going to be answering some of the questions today, and in the near future, I'll be hosting another Q&A. Now, before getting to the answers to your questions, remember you can subscribe to AMBY, like this video, comment on this video with any other questions or with anything else, as I mentioned before, always down to chat. Now, let's get to some answers. So I have all of the questions on the master AMBY phone, just like the first Q&A, and I figured I'd start off with one that's relatively simple, but was asked a lot. I don't know why this was asked so many times, but here we go. So Kevin S101 asked, how tall are you? I am 5'7.5". The next one comes from HBS Zlars, and this is, what's your education / did you do / study anything? The education that I have is high school. As soon as I finished high school, I was accepted into a couple of the universities that I applied to attend in Toronto. However, I ended up realizing that that's not necessarily the kind of journalism that I wanted to get into. I wanted more creative freedom to kind of do things on my own terms. So I said, screw it, I'm not going to go to university. I kind of took a big chance, and now I've been running AMBY full-time for about 3.5, 4 years. Time flies. The next question is from Blake, and they asked, what was the first concert you went to? The first concert I ever went to, I was 3 years old, and my mom took me to see Spice Girls. I really don't recall much of it, because I'm pretty sure she told me that I fell asleep during the show. But I like to say my first real concert was when I was 8, and my dad took myself and 2 of my older cousins to see The Used, Taking Back Sunday, and Blink-182. That is one of the most memorable concerts I've ever been to because I'm such a fan of The Used and TBS. So yeah, attending that was kind of crazy for me. The next question is from NLA Stella, and this one made me laugh a lot because I totally breezed over what they were actually asking. So the way I read it was, what song do you want played at your wedding? I have no freaking idea what song I want played at my wedding. That is way far off. I just turned 22. Not looking to marriage anytime soon. But the funniest part is I reread it, and it's, what song do you want played at our wedding? Very clever there, mister. This one comes from La Butch, and they ask, can you please say sorry about that? Love your channel, one of the best. Thank you so much. This guy has been asking me to say sorry about that for forever. People just find my Canadian accent weird. I don't know, it sounds super normal to me. I get Australian a lot. I sound nothing like an Australian. I get a lot of weird, people sometimes think I'm British. Like, this doesn't sound English. What are you talking about? I'm Canadian. So, sorry about that. That is what they want me to say, so there you have it. This cue is from Alex Boda, and they are asking, what got you into pro wrestling? My dad did. I've been watching pro wrestling since I was about 2 or 3, so pretty much since I can remember, because I don't remember anything from being 1. So I just remember my dad playing basketball across from my house with a bunch of his friends. They would come home, sit in the basement. I'd find my way there. I'm sure my mom just brought me down there, and I'd sit on the couch with all these dudes watching wrestling, and I just have been in love with it ever since. It mainly started with WWE for me, but now I'm into so many different promotions around the globe, really, along with working and doing stuff for Smash Wrestling here in Toronto. So yeah, I've just been in love head over heels with wrestling since about 2 years old, which is kind of nuts, but I love it. This question is from Leb Guis, and I'm assuming your name is Gabe Lewis or Lewis Gabe. But the question was, and this was the most interesting one that I think I had, because it's just so weird. But you asked, if you could pause your life right now at this very instant and live an entire life of a wheat farmer, all 80 years, and then come back into this life, would you do it? Now, this is contingent. Since it's my Q&A, I'm going to kind of switch this around, because I didn't know if you had meant, like, would I be 22, then go live out my 80 years, and then come back, what would that be, 102? Or do I come back to 22? Because if it's that one, if it's the latter, then yeah, of course I would. If I could live 2 lives, what's wrong with being a wheat farmer? That would be pretty nifty. The next question is from Amber, absolutely, and she asked a couple, so I'll tackle a couple of these, I guess, because she ended with "Okay, love you, bye," which just warms my heart. So the first one was, what is your ethnicity? I like the "how tall are you" question. I got this one a lot. I don't know, because growing up, people would be like, "What are you? You don't look like a normal." I'm like, what are you talking about? So I always get, what is your ethnicity? So I am half Palestinian, quarter Hungarian, and then quarter English. It's an interesting combo, but that is who I am. Another question that Amber asked was, do you get to also be in the audience besides interviewing the performers? Now you have to understand something. Before having AMBY, like 4 years back, whatever it is, I would be that kid who was at every concert for a band I loved that came through town. I was the kid who waited after shows to meet the bands that she loves, because meeting an inspiration just meant the world to me. So yes, being in the crowd, whether singing my heart out to my favorite songs or being at a wrestling live event rather than a concert and just screaming at the wrestlers or taking part in the ridiculous chants that people make up at those events, it makes me whole. I love being a part of that, a part of a community. This next question I really liked because I actually asked this in some of my own interviews. So this one comes from Rio, and they asked, if you are a wrestler, what would your wrestling name and gimmick be? This is so difficult because I'm constantly surrounded by so many amazing wrestlers who have insanely cool gimmicks. But I was thinking, and I'm like, you know what? My whole gimmick would be that I would be the interview queen. And my whole thing within the ring, I'd play mind games with people. Like, I would do research on my opponents in the ring, and midway through the match, it'd be like the commentators would think, what's she whispering in their ear? What's she whispering? And I'd dig up some dirt on them. That's what I'd do. And then, of course, they would just be baffled and they wouldn't know what to do. And then I'd pin them 1, 2, 3. The interview queen wins. The next question comes from CATB, our simpatico. They're simpatico. They're asking, how old were you when you started to interview bands, and how did you manage to get so famous? First off, working towards the fame, but I don't know if I'm quite there yet, but thank you so much for the compliment. When I first started interviewing bands, my first ever interview, I was 16 years old. No, wait, I was 17. I was 16 or 17 years old. Next up is a question from Levi Galopon, and I apologize if I'm completely fucking up your names because these handles on Instagram are just smushed together, so you can never tell where they begin or end. However, the question was, how many leather jackets do you have? This is probably being asked because I always wear a leather jacket in my interviews. I'm not going anywhere, I'm just grabbing said jacket. I only have one. And this leather jacket is my pride and joy. I've worn it in so many interviews because I love it. I get to rep what I like on it, I have a bunch of pins. So on this side, it's Jimmy Havoc, model airplanes, a Wilhelm scream. I have this really pretty one that's like a little, I don't even know what you'd call that, but it's like a little sun. I got that from my mom. And then on this side, I have, I like this side the most. I have Larry David, Palais Royale, because I love those boys. On the bottom is one that says Stumble Repeat, and that is Savoir Adore. And then this is my new favorite pin, which is Wrestling is Forever. There we are. And that's from Matt Cross, who I recently interviewed. He has a new clothing company, Wrestling is Forever. So that pin totally sums up my love for wrestling. I'm sure that it speaks to a lot of people. It's a really cool new company, so go check that out. But yeah, going back to the original question, leather jacket, I love it. You'll see me wear it in probably dozens more interviews. Next up is a question from Sam, and Sam asked, are you a fan of any hip-hop artists? And then this was on my last Q&A, and they said, loved your video, by the way. Your passion for music really shines through on every vid. Thank you so much. I love hip-hop and rap, but I'm more so a fan of the old school stuff. So I really love NWA, DMX, Busta Rhymes, Notorious B.I.G. I love newer stuff like The Streets, Dizzy Rascal. I really got into Stormzy just the other day. I just discovered him and how sick of a rapper he is. For me, I love how rap can just run the gamut as far as styles go. It's just funny because a lot of people see me and they're like, wait, she likes DMX, she likes this. And it's like, oh my gosh, it just gets me so hyped. And especially, with NWA, after watching the film that came out, the Straight Outta Compton film, it got me even more into, and I loved them prior. Don't get me wrong. But after watching that, just reignited my passion for them, and I could sing you the lyrics to like every single line in Fuck the Police or Straight Outta Compton. The energy behind those songs, I feel like that's really hard to capture in modern rap, so I always find myself going back to the old school stuff. I love it. This question is from Grace Campbell, and she said, go-to makeup for interviews. Smiley face. My go-to makeup for interviews is kind of what I have on now. I put on like a light foundation, and then I just kind of do my eyes up and put on some lipstick. So I like doing pink on my eyes. A lot of time I say brunettes should not put pink on their eyes, and I don't really care, so I do it. So yeah, I just put like a little bit of pink shimmer on my eyelids. I don't know if you can see it all too well, but I dig it, whatever. As long as I like it, I walk out that door. I've been wearing like a pink lipstick lately, and then also into nudes, because with my olive skin tone, I kind of dig that. So yeah, it's kind of my go-to makeup. Simple, looks decent on camera, I hope. So yeah, there you have it. This one kind of dabbles into Toronto as Bram, or is it Abram? Like, you know, I say A lot in my interviews. Is it like a Canadian? Abram or Bram? Let's go with Abram, because it sounds like Abram, right? So the question, it is, where would you take someone who's visiting Toronto for a day? So my go-to in Toronto is Queen Street West. It sounds douchey, but it is hipsterville, and I don't go there because I'm a hipster. I go there because there's a store called, well, first, there's a lot of really good food, but the second reason is there's a store called Black Market, and you can pretty much get everything under $10. So they have really cool like bootleg shirts and jewelry and thrift threads. Like I get a lot of stuff from there. They have pins, which are really cool, vintage pants. So check out Black Market if you're ever in Toronto. I always tell bands to go there, and a lot of bands get some really cool stuff. The other place that I recently discovered is on Bloor Street, and it's a barcade called Tilt. So I would bring people to Tilt, because what's better than, you know, like hanging out with friends and playing a bunch of arcade games, like Play the Kiss Machine. It is a lot of fun. Then there's this one game, I don't know what it's called, but it's like a machine, and the machine has a bunch of holes in it, and then you have to raise up these silver balls on like a platform and tilt the platform to get each silver ball into the holes in the machine. That's probably a really shitty description, but it is so much fun. So I've been there a few times, always grab some Asian food across the street, then head over to Tilt. It's a really fun night. Well, those are all of the questions that I'm going to answer for today. I know, alas, it has come to an end, but I just want to say thank you so much, as always. I feel like I'm always saying thank you so much, but I really do mean it, for tuning in, giving a shit, asking questions, wanting to know more about me, wanting to know more about AMBY. Knowing that is the best feeling in the world. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed my answers. If there are any answers where they surprised you or you don't get it, comment. I'll reply to every single comment. I always do love responding to that. And just remember, you can subscribe to AMBY for all exclusive interviews, features, videos, and so much more. Like this video, comment with what I said before, ask me new questions, or just let's have a chat together. And yeah, that is about it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time on In the